Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today for this major dairy industry news announcement. My name's Ross Betcher. I'm on the marketing communications team here at VES, and we are actually coming to you live from our global headquarters and innovation center here in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. A little bit later here, we'll be also coming to you live from partner locations in British Columbia as well as California. So again, thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate your time, especially during this busy part of the year. A couple of housekeeping notes before I introduce our first participants. So we really want this to be a two-way dialogue. You'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner of the Zoom panel, you have the opportunity to ask questions. As we get through our announcements and remarks today, we would like to cover as many questions as possible. So go ahead, click that Q&A button and ask questions as you'd like as we go through our remarks. And then if there's anything that we don't happen to cover live, we will follow up with you directly either from one of our participants here today or a member of the VES team. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Chief Executive Officer, Ed Paradowski, as well as John DeYoung, the President of Artex Barn Solutions. Gentlemen, take it away.
Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Today, we've got a huge announcement. This is a very important announcement for the dairy industry. VES and Artex Barn Solutions are merging to become VES-Artex. We are positioning ourselves to become the premier technology solutions provider for environmental systems in the dairy industry. So I'm an industry outsider. I've been at VES less than a year and in the dairy industry the same amount of time. But John DeYoung, you're a lifetime dairy guy, and you've owned Artex since 1995, if I took my notes correctly. So John, this has got to be even a bigger deal in your world.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I had a chance this morning to talk to Ralph Terpstra, who 25 years ago, excuse me, and 2 months, my wife and I had the opportunity to acquire the business of Artex, which had already a long staple in the dairy industry. And these 25 years have been life-changing. We've raised a family through all of this. And it's been fascinating that these 25 years we've been able to build this thing into what we like to believe a really stable, wonderful environment for staff to work in, and we did our best to make an impact in the dairy industry. And frankly, you look at these 25 years have been amazing. So thank you, Ralph, for the opportunity, and my wife for believing in me through this journey. And here we are today, graduating Artex into trying to become something super special. Things we wanted to do, can't do it alone. And we'll talk more about that as this video goes on. I'm proud to bring this together, that we can really take these two excellent companies and make an impact. So thank you. What our teams have done, we've compiled a small video together to give you the quick introduction. So I'd like to share that with you now, and then we'll come back for further discussion.
VES and Artex Barn Solutions, the industry leaders in environmental systems for agricultural facilities, are coming together to accelerate dairy innovation and optimize animal welfare around the world. Introducing VES-Artex, the premier technology solutions provider for environmental systems, sustainability, and dairy efficiency. The all-new VES-Artex integrates each organization's focus on animal well-being as the foundation for agricultural success, while strengthening its capabilities to impact operational performance through connected technologies. All powered by Turntide technologies and the Smart Motor System, the world's most efficient and connected motor. And Dairy Boss, the industry's most comprehensive ventilation, lighting, and cooling control system, accessible anytime, anywhere, from any computer or device with internet or cellular connectivity. Two industry innovators, one big vision, for the industry, for the future. VES-Artex.
guys. So obviously big news for both of our organizations at VES and Artex, and huge news as we kick off this new year in the dairy industry. And with that, I'd like to introduce the rest of our panelists for the rest of the webcast here. Joining us from California, we have Ryan Morris, who's the CEO of Turntide Technologies, as well as Tim Taylor, the board chairman of VES-Artex. And additionally, from BC, we have Yov Levsky, the chairman of the Artex Barn Solutions Board of Directors. With that, Ed, I think it'd be a great place for you to kind of take us through, what does this mean more broadly for both organizations as it pertains to kind of positioning in the dairy industry?
It's interesting as we've gone through this process, we've adopted kind of a tagline, and this has really been our guiding principle throughout this. We say that we're better together. And when I joined VES, it was March of last year, so really not all that long ago. Our value proposition as VES, our core competencies were really around ventilation in the dairy industry. And aligning with Turntide Technologies, our parent company, really the value proposition, our focus was changing to really focus on environmental sustainability, animal welfare, and dairy intelligence. So a much broader target, especially for the size company that we had. So in ongoing conversations with John DeYoung and Yoav, several things became very clear. We had extremely complementary cultures, and culture is a word that we use literally every day within our organizations. And we had very complementary skill sets and strengths within our businesses. So we applied a very collaborative approach of mutual benefit, which has been another common theme that we've adopted and we embody is collaboration for mutual benefit to our discussions. And here we are today, merging into to one superpower, as we like to refer to it.
Yeah, that's great, Ed. Thank you so much. John, can you expand on, kind of from an Artex standpoint and perspective, what does all of this mean? Obviously, you have decades of experience in the industry, so take us a little deeper on what this means for Artex, your customers, and then the dairy industry overall.
Certainly, thanks. I'm sitting here at the Bakerview Eco Dairy, and this dairy farm was a brainchild of Bill Vanderkoy's and mine. In 2005, we went to Simon Fraser University, got educated in our MBA, and really we've been wanting to make an impact. What can this dairy industry be? So this dairy farm here, we have an anaerobic digester, nutrient recovery. We have robotic milking that was built in 2008. We have rumination collars on the cows. We feed the cows sprouted wheatgrass, which is made by a Hydrogreen company. We're doing feed trials. And all of these technologies, we have a Wagyu beef, grass-fed beef program here as well. So we're really trying to explore is what place do we have in the dairy ecosystem for these last many years. And we've been very proud of the work that we've done here as a group. And when you look at what VES has done, and people have got to remember, VES are the people that brought Artex into the cow cooling industry in 2011. And we're grateful for that, yet we were competitors in the marketplace. Their core competence was cow cooling. And the work that they've done in the development at the Fetzer farms, where my people got trained in the early days, really exciting to see the work that they've done. In addition to that, in 2018 and 2019, Tim Taylor, Yoav, and myself were blessed with the opportunity to be involved and lead the industry to the Connect Summit. And when we brought in key people in the industry and our partners, we started to see and really started to learn the transformation of this dairy industry. And there'll be some links to the websites. For those of you who don't know what Connect Summit is, please take the time and look at, there's lots of videos about the Connect Summit. But what that event did is it really inspired me to realize, where is this industry going to be in 5 and 10 years? Who is our customer? Who's our consumer? And what relevance do we have to support them going on into the future? So we've worked very, very closely with the top dairy producers for the last many years and realized we need to transform. We need to bring more technologies into this industry. It's a very competitive market, the dairy industry is, and we need to help our customers, our partners, longtime partners, be better at what they do. So we just decided that after all of our years of development coming together, we will be able to invest in these technologies, merge the technologies, and I commend Ryan for allowing this to happen. Turntide Technology is an amazing motor system, and Ryan's committed to equipping these two companies to come together, bring in the top people, top engineers, top salespeople, top technicians to allow us to make an impact in this marketplace. And we're proud to hand it over to Ryan here to talk more about that.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. Yeah, Turntide, we're based in Silicon Valley, and our team's really passionate about making an impact. And our mission as a company is pretty huge. It's to make every watt worthwhile for humanity by upgrading all the motors in the world to optimal motor systems, we call them. And today we're in thousands of buildings upgrading the HVAC systems, the air conditioning that consumes a huge amount of electricity in the world. And we've researched a lot of different markets, and we found that dairy, number one, is just absolutely critical to feeding a growing world. And there was just such a huge need for sustainable solutions that we can really help the impact have the tools it needs to have a sustainable, bright future. So we're incredibly proud to co-develop Dairy Boss with some of the VES veterinarians and the other experts, and now combining with Artex and its strengths, combining the deep passion for dairy in the industry and all the domain expertise that the team brings with the kind of tools that are made from the most advanced technology in the world, from our team that's made from some of the best engineers in the world. I just think we're going to be able to have such a huge positive contribution to the industry.
Ryan, thanks so much for sharing that vision with us. It's one that we're all super excited about. Speaking of vision, Tim Taylor is somebody who John alluded to earlier as somebody who's been a real connector for not only both organizations, but in the broader dairy community as well. So I want to bring in Tim here to tell us a little bit about from a vision standpoint, big picture, what does this merger and combination of forces mean for the broader dairy industry, as well as kind of your vision for things moving forward?
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here today. Thanks, guys. I think the first major commitment we have from a vision standpoint is in the area of technology. At VES-Artex, we have a commitment to be the technology leader in dairy. And this means not just the connection of things, animals, people, and physical things, motors and fans, but also processes and decision-making on the dairy. We introduced the Dairy Boss platform last year, and we're doing something with the Dairy Boss platform that's never been done. We're setting the stage for what I call the fully connected dairy and for dairy intelligence, which means connecting other technology providers on the dairy to each other so that the dairy owner and dairy manager can make more effective real-time decisions. So it's a new and powerful platform and a commitment to collaboration for the benefit of our marketplace. The second major commitment we have is to what I call sustainability as a platform. Turntide has a transformative commitment to sustainability. And on the dairy, sustainability really means improved efficiencies and transparency for stakeholders, processors, retailers, consumers. And it really means that we're approaching sustainability with a data-driven approach, factfulness, so that dairies can show their marketplace what they're doing to continue to improve. Finally, as a company, we're about a powerful culture. There's nothing more powerful in relationships and businesses than cultures. And at VES-Artex, we have a commitment to what we call servant leadership. And servant leadership means that the other person's interest is more important than mine. And so we're here as a group of leaders and owners to serve every employee and to serve our clients in a humble but yet innovative and energized way.
Awesome, Tim. Thanks so much. One word that you mentioned that I want to expound on is sustainability, and for that I want to bring in Yoav back in British Columbia. Yoav, you've obviously established a big part of your career in the area of sustainability. So if you could walk us through what this combination means from a sustainability standpoint, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Very exciting to be here today with all of you. And in the last few years, we are learning more and more that as an industry, one of our biggest challenge is to really make sure that we create a sustainable environment that is not only sustainable for us as dairy farmers and as player in this environment, but also sustainable in the eyes of the consumers that consume eventually the product that we are producing. And with a deeper analysis of the areas that are very crucial for future sustainability, we identified at the back of the barn an area where both VES and Artex are very active in, is an area that have been stayed behind a little bit in terms of deployment of technologies and the overall approach for future sustainability. And that was one of my main drivers to put together the two companies, and it's coming to scale. Now when we are together, we can scale a lot of the things that we need to do, whether it's deployment of technology, financial investments, or even talents around the industry that we can bring together to help us accelerate a lot of the different solutions that we see out there. And now we can do it in a mutual way, in a much faster and professional way. The other thing that was throughout all the conversations we had, and John mentioned the Connect Summit, we all got very, had a great chance to talk a lot about our visions and our belief where this industry needs to go. And that's one of the things that encouraged me the most, that as two organizations, we actually share the vision about the future of the dairy industry. And I'm very excited again to be here today and make it happen.
The future is indeed bright. Thank you, Yoav. Before we jump into the question and answer portion of today's webcast, I did first want to encourage you to submit a question if you have one. And with that, we're actually going to send it back to Ed and John, who are going to walk through some of the other basic details that you're all probably wondering about in terms of this merger and some of the secondary effects around that. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Probably the most obvious question, what's our company name going to be? We had a lot of internal conversations around that exact topic, and we decided on VES-Artex. I think it answers that very logical question of who are you? We're two great companies that are better together. So that's the name that we've adopted. As far as locations, where I'm standing right now is our brand new facility in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. We actually moved into it less than a month ago. So this will be our global headquarters and innovation center. But because the direction that our merged business is going is rapid growth, all of our locations, both sales-wise and operationally, are going to be maintained. So we'll have a presence in Vancouver, Canada. We've got salespeople at various points around the world. So all of our infrastructure, operationally and sales channel side, all of that is remaining in place, and hopefully we'll expand on that very rapidly. So John, did you want to add anything to those points?
Yeah, another thing that's also, you have touched on it earlier, it's about scale. And one of the things that we are excited about is as we scale collectively together, our manufacturing partners and our manufacturing facilities will enjoy the scale. Because when we look at our dairy industry, they have to do more with less. So why should we be any different? So this is about being able to upsize our manufacturing, become more efficient, put more throughput, and reduce costs for our end consumers. And that's ultimately what we're doing here as well, in addition to the top talent and bringing high-end resources to the group.
Outstanding. Thanks, guys. So this is the portion of the webcast where we're going to open it up for audience questions. And actually, expounding on John's point, right there. One of our media friends, Chris Torres from American Agriculturist, asks kind of along those same lines, John. And I'll kick this back to both you and Ed. John, if you want to answer first, especially as it pertains to competing in the market. What does this increased scale really mean for VES-Artex as we go to market?
Well, I think that the biggest impact that we can make is that when we work fully aligned together, we can take the top resources and bring them together. And Ed mentioned earlier, we're working on our Barnwise system, and they were working on the Dairy Boss system. And so there's resources required for that to happen. And that's I wouldn't say it's wasteful, but it's an inefficiency. So that's one thing. And then also, like any business, there's a certain amount of throughput and volume to gain in efficiency. So again, our hope and our need for the industry is to do a much better job, much more streamlined, much more efficient at a lower cost. And obviously still having profits for the investors. And that's really what this is about.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Ed, a question for you here as questions start to come in. In terms of product offering, how will product offerings be affected, both in the near term and in the medium term here as the merger takes place?
All right. Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm sure it's a top of mind question for a lot of people in the industry. And I'll answer it the way you had asked it. So in the near term, nothing changes. So when I think about a product strategy, I certainly think about the products, services, solutions we're offering, but I also think about the channels that we're taking those products and solutions to market, and then of course the dairy industry that ideally will benefit from those. So right away, starting today, tomorrow, the rest of the weekend, and so on, nothing changes. If you're in the dairy industry, you can go through the sales channel that you've previously gone through and get all the same things that you've purchased previously. As we evolve long term, and this is really the common word we use in all of this is scale. Really the primary reason to do this is to scale, and actually not scale necessarily primarily as a hardware company. Historically, we've been hardware companies, and it's hardware's been the steak and potatoes. Hardware kind of moves into the potatoes position, and the steak position becomes dairy intelligence and technology. So our hardware strategy will become a very comprehensive, well-aligned strategy that does several things: solves problems in the dairy industry. That's incumbent upon us, and also is very well aligned with a channel strategy, because I'm sure we've got authorized resellers from both VES and Artex that are asking that question: is how does this affect me right now and long term? So nothing changes now. Long term, we'll bring in all the relevant parties to develop a really comprehensive strategy.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. I'm going to stay actually with Ed for a second for a question on Dairy Boss. We just launched the new Dairy Boss platform late in 2020, and one of our participants is wondering whether that Dairy Boss technology, in-barn tech intelligence, and all of the integrations will also be available on Artex Barn Solutions legacy hardware.
Yeah, the answer to that question is simple. It's yes, and there's so many reasons why this merge made sense. We've talked about scale, economies of scale, but for two mid-sized companies in the dairy industry that are both pivoting from hardware companies into technology companies, there's a certain amount of company size that you typically might need to fund that internally. So putting our businesses together does get us that better leverage, doubling our top line and certainly giving us better cost effectiveness. So as VES, we were developing Dairy Boss, and Artex was developing Barnwise, very similar technology strategies to market. So now we can just focus only on Dairy Boss. So again, it's better investment into Dairy Boss. And the long answer to your simple question, yes, everybody in the dairy industry will be able to have access to Dairy Boss. It certainly can be part of a solution for new installations, but it also can be applied to existing installations. So it's retrofittable to ventilation systems and hardware that's already in the marketplace.
Awesome, Ed. Thanks so much for that walkthrough. John, I'm going to actually come to you next. So in terms of advantages, what advantage does this merger have for existing Artex and VES customers?
You get the best of the best. And I sit here honored to be on this platform with these amazing people. And again, if you have been following our company the last bunch of years, World Ag Expo, World Dairy Expo, Tim Taylor and I stood in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, and we've been talking about this for a long, long time. How do we unite? How do we unite each other at companies? How do we bring in the best people around us to just do a better job? Just bending a freestall or building a headlock, not good enough. And we've been seeking for what is the right thing? What is the right thing for us as business leaders, as employers, as family members, leaders of families, and the industry has to get so much better. And that's our commitment, is we want to just find out what it is we need to do and deliver that best principles and practices to the best of our ability.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John. Ryan, I have a technology question for you. And actually, Ed and John may be able to chime in on this as well. But talk to us about the broader plan with Turntide Technologies smart motors. Bruce is actually one of our participants is asking whether that technology will be available on Artex products in the near future.
Thanks. Yeah, we have a very general purpose technology. It's called a high rotor pole switch reluctance motor. We're really like a platform technology that applies to many different use cases. So we've been working with the VES team for almost 2 years to develop a custom direct drive fan system. So that should be coming out pretty soon. And that, of course, will extend as well with the Artex product. I think about it in terms of generations of technology. So first, we had the first direct drive, which is already out there in the market with VES. Artex has another solution. Working together, we're fairly soon, in the next 6 months or so, going to release the big next step up in fan system using custom developed technology that we've applied specifically for these dairy, very large, high torque fans, so we can be direct drive, very, very high performance, very high efficiency. And then there's another generation beyond that where it'll just be so far beyond anything else that's in the market as we keep developing things here. The same motors apply, we'll see getting into pumps and things like that as well. Motors are pretty ubiquitous around the barn and the facility. So ventilation.
All right. It looks like we're going to actually bring it over to Tim in California. Tim, as Ryan was talking about with kind of those connected technologies, all of the things that Turntide brings to the table, it's a great example of how the dairy industry has leveraged technology in an industry that the broader community may view as potentially blue collar, potentially kind of a more traditional than it actually is. So my question for you is, why is the dairy industry such a good platform and such a great space for connected technologies like Turntide brings to the table, like VES-Artex is bringing to the table with Dairy Boss?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I've been on over 400 dairies in the last few years. I started with Valley Ag Software, and I visited almost 400 dairies, over 400 dairies in 10 countries. And every time I'm on a dairy, the dairy owner or the dairy manager says, can you just get all of my information in one place for me and help me make decisions? And then they want to extend that to their workforce. So our belief is that it's not just about the motor or just about the fan. It's about connecting all of the things on the dairy: water usage, natural gas usage, outputs such as wastewater, effluents, things like that allow dairymen to say, my ins and my outs come out to this, and putting it all in one place in a very efficient form so that dairymen can run their dairies and then empower their employees to use mobile technology to make decisions in real time. That's what the dairies need to be able to improve efficiencies in a rapid way.
I'm going to bring in Yoav here to expound on that a little bit. Obviously the sustainability piece is absolutely huge to not only the hardware, the connected technology, but it's really about that sustainability piece and resources. Yoav, what can folks expect, whether they're customers, future customers, expect from a VES-Artex organization in the way of sustainability?
So first of all, I think the most important thing that customer can expect from us is to be a great collaborator. One of the main building blocks that we are going to be is a great collaborator. It doesn't matter which equipment and which software you're using out in your barn. We'll be as open as we can to include as much data, as much input as we can. And that goes back to Tim's and Ryan's comment about us trying to create a very open platform from the technology point of view that it's easy to connect and to link with from a technological point of view, but also as a culture. We are promising to our customer not to exclude anyone, not to exclude any solution, not to exclude any other partner in the industry, because we really understand that this is the power that will enable us as an industry to meet our future challenges collectively.
Outstanding. Thank you. And I'll actually put this one out to the group, including the cow who's saying hello to John there in BC. Guys, why is this just generally? I want to kind of riff on the idea of why is this a good thing for the dairy industry overall?
Well, I'll chime in, and with 3 seconds of silence, I'll take advantage of that. One of the things that I often talk about is my background is in manufacturing, and I can tell you that when people talk about environmental sustainability or environmental compliance, I've learned a very basic thing in my career running manufacturing businesses, is that there's only one thing more difficult than doing the right thing and being a good environmental steward, is that proving you're doing the right thing as a good steward of the environment. Same thing with animal welfare. The only thing more difficult than truly being committed to animal well-being is to proving it. And really this isn't the flavor of the day push. This is a global push that everybody cares about environmental impacts, and we care much more about our food chain and our food supply than we ever did. Not just where it comes from, but how the animals are treated in every single segment of the food chain. So as we take 2 great companies that have been top of the industry in hardware, and we again move that into the potatoes position and really lead with dairy intelligence, it's around those 2 basic challenges, is helping the dairy. I'll add a third. It's helping the dairyman be a great environmental steward and proving it, helping them to be great animal caretakers and proving it, and then at the same time making them more economically competitive, which usually doing those first 2 things as a cost burden in free markets, with the way we're going to market, will actually help the dairyman be more competitive in free market conditions.
Awesome, thanks, Ed. I do also want to encourage everybody who's watching to ask a question if you have it. We do have a few more here. I want to go to John for this next one. John, some folks may have a little bit of question about, what does environment exactly mean? When we as VES-Artex talk about, animal-centered environments and cow comfort and animal well-being, how do the cultures and visions of VES and Artex align in that way? And what exactly does that mean?
For sure. As I mentioned earlier, we've spent a lifetime in this place where these cows live. And if I look back at the late 90s, so 1995, when my wife and I bought this business from Ralph, one of the first things we started getting into is how do we help the industry do a better job inside this freestyle environment? And the late Doug Young, who passed away, I think in 2002, taught me so many things about cow comfort and neck rails and all these things. And that that story and that evolution has just continued every single year about how can we do a better job. And from those videos that we did in the late 1990s, we changed the way we house animals. But you can't stop. This industry cannot stop progressing. And arguably, people outside the industry don't know the detail and the evolution that we've been on for these last 25 years. And frankly, when I see the partnership and the talent that's here and the appetite to invest and just be excellent, it's just going to start to escalate the things that we have to do. So this evolution is super exciting. And we look at the software that's available to us today to bring it all together, to take it to that next level so we can cool cows and house cows in an environment that's not very friendly to cows and produce milk locally, integrate different technologies on feeding animals. And as Yoav mentioned, being a collaborator. So a lot of you that know me, we're into other businesses as well. It's working, bringing all these businesses together to bring that high level of value. And that's my excitement, is how can we just be better, do a better job?
Awesome. Tim, I want to go to you now, actually, in terms of, expounding on that value piece. As you see it, what are some of the things that you really hope to accomplish with this merger?
Well, I think we talked about scale, and it's important when you're developing technology. It's a big investment, and connecting the things on the dairy with the dairy intelligence requires investment. And so, two companies together of significant size creates a bigger budget for investment, and that way you can take a long-term view, and you can go to your clients and say, "What do you need? We're here to listen to you. We're here to meet your needs as customers." And the other thing, Yoav touched on it, is a commitment to be collaborative. Technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. You are only as good as your ecosystem. So we say in software that 2 + 2 = 7 when we integrate and we collaborate. And so you can see as a dairy owner that this combination of both the two companies with our commitment to collaborative culture really will result in a long-term view, meeting the dairy's needs, but also an open-handed approach to collaborating with other companies. There's some great software companies out there with 15 or 20 people in their company. They have great technologies, but they need scale to take it to the dairy. We're going to be a platform on which other companies can go to market and integrate with other technology providers.
That's great insight, Tim. Thank you. I'm actually going to go back to Ryan here, so we can kind of wrap up what he was unpacking for us. And just, I'll ask you the same question, Ryan. From your view, through your lens at Turntide, what are some of the things that you look forward to accomplishing together as VES-Artex?
Yeah, just building off of what Tim said, I mean, that ability to leverage a much larger research and development and engineering budget to develop new products and take, great ideas that either we have internally or some of our ecosystem partners are going to have, that we're already starting to build that kind of platform for, other people to access, the entire system within a dairy. So the potential impact for that is just so big. I mean, there's so much change in the industry, and there's change in technology, and shrinking that adoption curve from when new technology is developed is a really key thing that we're trying to do to speed things up.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Yoav, I'll ask you the same question, actually. As you see it, as we head into this new frontier as VES-Artex, what's kind of your vision? What do you hope to accomplish?
So I hope to look in 5 years down the road, be able to look at where is it that we started today, and where are we going to be in 5 years in terms of how did we as a collaborative platform contributed to a more sustainable dairy industry? How did we contribute to a better animal welfare, human welfare in the dairy industry? And how did we make our overall food ecosystem more sustainable to the world that we all have to feed? Because ultimately, that's the ultimate goal for all of us, is that we have a fast-growing population that consume more and more food, and our environment is under a lot of pressure to contain this huge growth. And our role at VES-Artex is really to come up with technologies and solutions and services to really balance that and accommodate that huge growth in food and mitigate the impact on the environment. So I would want to look 5 years down the road and say, there are some really tangible points that we can go back and look at, and this is where we made a great impact.
Outstanding. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for participating today. We do have some additional questions to get to that are very specific, so we are actually going to address most of those offline. So with that, I just want to thank everybody who participated today, everybody in the audience from here domestically in the United States and around the world. We appreciate you taking the time to be here. I hope you're as excited as we are. We know you have a lot of questions, so please reach out to your primary contact at VES and or Artex. They're going to remain your singular point of contact in the near term. So again, thank you so much for being here today. Keep your eyes peeled for a follow-up email distribution with a recording of this webcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.